I have spent more than 20 years of my life asking one question. Why do some people build great wealth, while others, equally intelligent, equally hardworking, remain in poverty their entire lives? To Henry Ford, to Thomas Edison, to John D. Rockefeller, to Theodore Roosevelt, to more than 500 of the most successful men this nation has ever produced. And after 2 decades of research, after filling thousands of pages with notes and observations and interviews, I found the answer. It was not what I expected. It was not intelligence. It was not education. It was not birth or privilege or luck or even hard work alone. The men who built the greatest fortunes in American history shared one habit above all others. They did not speak of their plans until those plans had already become reality. They protected their vision the way a mother protects her child, with absolute devotion, with absolute silence. Today, I wish to share with you the principle that changed my life and the lives of millions of people who have studied my work. I call it the discipline of silence. And once you understand it fully, you will never look at success the same way again. I was born in 1883 in a one-room cabin in the mountains of Virginia. My mother died when I was 9 years old. My father remarried a woman who, to my great fortune, believed in me when I had no reason to believe in myself. We had nothing. No money, no land worth speaking of, no connections to the powerful men who ran this country. But I had a burning desire, a desire so fierce, so consuming, that it would not let me sleep at night. I wanted to understand success. I wanted to know its laws, its principles, its hidden architecture. And at the age of 25, I was given the greatest opportunity of my life. I was sent to interview Andrew Carnegie, the richest man in the world, the man who had built an empire of steel from nothing. What was supposed to be a 3-hour interview became 3 days of the most extraordinary conversation of my life. Carnegie told me things he had never told another living soul. He shared the principles behind his success, the habits, the philosophies, the mental disciplines that had made him the most powerful industrialist in America. And then he made me an offer. He said, "Napoleon, I want you to spend the next 20 years interviewing the most successful men in this country. I want you to find the common laws behind their achievement, and I want you to write a philosophy of success that any ordinary person can use to build an extraordinary life." He offered me no salary, no guarantee of any kind. He offered me nothing but the opportunity. I accepted. And what I discovered over those 20 years is the foundation of everything I am about to share with you today. In my book, Think and Grow Rich, I begin with one word: desire. Not a wish, not a hope, not a vague dream that you think about occasionally before falling asleep. A burning desire. A desire so specific, so intense, so relentlessly alive in your mind that it consumes your thoughts the way a fire consumes dry wood. I observed something remarkable about this burning desire in every single man I interviewed. The men who achieved the greatest success were the men who protected their desire the most fiercely. They did not share it with anyone who had not earned the right to hear it. They did not expose it to the cold wind of public opinion. They did not post it on a bulletin board for the world to critique and dissect. They held it privately, silently, deeply within themselves. And that silence was not weakness. It was not timidity. It was the most powerful thing they did. Let me explain why. The human mind has 2 distinct parts: the conscious mind, which you use every day to think and reason and make decisions, and the subconscious mind, which works beneath the surface 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, without rest. The subconscious mind is your greatest ally. It is a magnificent engine that, once properly programmed, will work tirelessly to move you toward any goal you have embedded within it. But here is what most people do not understand. The subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between what is real and what is vividly imagined. And it cannot tell the difference between a goal you are actively pursuing and a goal that someone else has already dismissed as impossible. And once doubt enters the subconscious, it is extraordinarily difficult to remove. The discipline of silence is, at its core, the discipline of protecting your subconscious mind. It is the decision to guard your vision with the same ferocity that a soldier guards his post. It is the decision to guard your vision with the same ferocity that a soldier guards his post. It is the recognition that your dream is not yet strong enough to survive exposure to the opinions of a doubting world. And so you keep it close. You nourish it in private. You feed it with action and faith. And you let the world see it only when it is so fully realized that no opinion can diminish it. I want to be very precise about what I mean. I am not suggesting that you live in isolation. I am not suggesting that you never speak of your goals to any living soul. What I am telling you is that there are 3 specific dangers that arise when you speak of your plans to the wrong people at the wrong time. The first danger is opposition. The moment you announce what you intend to accomplish, you invite the opinions of every person who hears you. And the majority of those opinions will be negative. Not because people are cruel, but because most people live in a state of fear. And fear, once it has taken root in a person, causes them to see danger in every dream that is larger than their own. They will say, that has never been done before. They will say, people like us do not succeed at things like that. They will say, be realistic, be practical, be careful. And if you are not strong enough to reject those words entirely, they will plant seeds of doubt in your mind, seeds that grow slowly, quietly, imperceptibly, until one day you find that your burning desire has gone cold and you cannot quite remember why you stopped believing in it. I wrote in The Law of Success that opinions are the cheapest commodities on earth. Everyone has a supply of them, and most people are anxious to give them away free of charge. Do not accept opinions from people who have not demonstrated the kind of success you are trying to achieve. The second danger is the loss of competitive advantage. In business, information is power. Henry Ford did not announce his plans for a new automobile until it was ready to be delivered. John D. Rockefeller did not discuss his acquisition strategy with anyone outside his most trusted circle. Andrew Carnegie never revealed his next move until it was already made. These men understood something that most people never learn. The element of surprise is one of the greatest competitive advantages available to any person in any field. When your competitors do not know what you are building, they cannot prepare a defense against it. When the market does not know what you are creating, it cannot discount it before it arrives. Tell the world what you intend to do, but first, show it. Results are the only announcement that cannot be argued with. The third danger is the premature exhaustion of your creative energy. Every human being has a finite amount of mental and emotional energy available each day. That energy can be spent in conversation, or it can be spent in creation. Every hour you spend talking about your goal is an hour you are not spending building it. But there is something even more insidious than the loss of time. When you talk about your plans and people respond positively, your brain experiences a small burst of satisfaction. It feels for a moment as though something has been accomplished. And that feeling of false accomplishment reduces your motivation to do the actual work. You receive the emotional reward of achievement without paying the price of achievement. And so the work never gets done. The dream remains a dream. This is the most common reason that talented people fail. Not lack of ability, not lack of opportunity, but the habit of talking about their dreams instead of building them. Now, I promised you that I was not advocating for isolation, and I meant it. There is one context in which you must speak freely about your goals, one group of people with whom you must share everything. I call it the mastermind. In Think and Grow Rich, I define the mastermind as the coordination of knowledge and effort in a spirit of harmony between 2 or more people for the attainment of a definite purpose. In simpler terms, a small group of trusted, capable, aligned individuals who share your vision and contribute actively to your success. Not your friends who mean well but accomplish little. Not your family members who love you but live in fear. Not the strangers on the internet who will give your dream 3 seconds of attention before moving on to the next thing. Your mastermind must be chosen with the same care and precision that a general chooses his officers. Each member must bring something of value, a specific skill, a body of knowledge, a network of relationships, or a quality of character that complements your own weaknesses. Each member must demonstrate genuine ambition and a positive mental attitude. Negativity, fear, and small thinking are contagious. They spread through a group the way disease spreads through a crowded room. Each member must be trustworthy beyond any doubt. The mastermind is only as powerful as the confidentiality of its members. Andrew Carnegie had a mastermind of approximately 50 men. Each one was a specialist. Each one contributed something that no other member could provide. And together they formed an intelligence that exceeded the capacity of any single individual. Carnegie once told me something that I have never forgotten. He said, "Napoleon, I am not a particularly brilliant man. I am not the smartest person in any room I enter, but I am very good at surrounding myself with brilliant people and organizing their knowledge toward a single purpose. That is the mastermind principle in its purest expression. Within your mastermind group, share everything. Be completely open. Discuss your plans, your fears, your obstacles, your strategies. The safety of this group is precisely what makes it powerful. But outside that group, protect your plans with silence. The two things are not in conflict. They work together within total openness, without complete silence." I want to return to the subject of the subconscious mind, because I believe it is the most important concept in all of my work. Shortly, these men seemed to have an almost supernatural ability to solve problems. They would be confronted with a challenge that would paralyze an ordinary person for months, and within hours they would arrive at a solution that was not only correct, but elegant. I asked Thomas Edison about this once. I asked him how he arrived at his ideas, how he knew which direction to pursue when the path was unclear. He thought for a long moment before he answered, and then he said, "I do not think I allow thinking to happen." I did not fully understand that answer when I first heard it, but as I continued my research, it began to make perfect sense. The subconscious mind, when properly programmed with a clear, burning desire and given the space and quiet to operate, will generate solutions of extraordinary quality. It will make connections that the conscious mind cannot see. It will identify opportunities that the distracted mind would miss entirely. It will, in the words I used in Think and Grow Rich, pick up vibrations of thought from the ether and translate them into usable ideas. But this process requires one essential condition: silence. Not the silence of inaction, not the silence of passivity or resignation, the silence of focused inward attention. The silence of a mind that has been cleared of other people's doubts and fears and opinion. The silence of a person who knows exactly what they want, has committed to it completely, and has protected that commitment from the corrosive force of outside interference. I instructed my readers to practice a specific ritual each day. Write your definite chief aim in precise, specific language. State the exact thing you want to achieve. State the exact date by which you intend to achieve it. State what you are willing to give in return. Then read that statement aloud twice each day, once upon waking, once before sleeping. Read it with emotion, with faith, with the absolute conviction that it has already been achieved. And notice what I did not say. I did not say, tell your friends about your goal. I did not say, post your statement on the wall of your office for your colleagues to read. I did not say, announce your intentions to the public and invite the world to hold you accountable. I said, read it to yourself, because the only mind that needs to believe in your goal is your own. The only permission you need is from yourself. The only accountability that matters is the accountability you hold within the quiet chambers of your own conscience. In 1938, I wrote a book that I was not permitted to publish during my lifetime. My family believed it was too controversial, too dangerous, too raw in its honesty about the forces that keep human beings trapped in mediocrity. That book was called Outwitting the Devil. In it, I describe a conversation with the force that I call the devil, a personification of fear, laziness, and the habits of the mind that keep people from achieving their full potential. The devil in this conversation describes his greatest weapon. He calls it drifting. Drifters, the devil tells me, are people who have no definite purpose, no organized plan, and no disciplined control over their own minds. They are people who allow themselves to be pushed by the circumstances of life, rather than directing those circumstances through the power of a clear, burning, protected desire. And what creates drifters? What is the primary tool the devil uses to turn a potentially great human being into a passive, purposeless drifter? Noise. The constant flood of other people's opinions. The ceaseless chatter of a world that wants to tell you what is possible and what is not. The social pressure to conform, to be reasonable, to stay within the boundaries that mediocre people have set for themselves and wish to impose on everyone else. When a person is constantly surrounded by noise, they cannot hear the voice of their own desire. They cannot feel the pull of their own purpose. They cannot access the deep, quiet power that lives inside every human being who has the courage to be silent. The antidote to drifting is what I call definiteness of purpose, a crystal clear, unshakable commitment to a specific outcome. And definiteness of purpose, I discovered, can only be maintained when it is protected from the erosion of outside opinion. This is why silence is not merely a tactical tool. It is a form of resistance. It is the act of saying, with every day you do not speak, that your dream belongs to you and to no one else, that you will not give others the power to diminish it, that you will carry it in silence and build it in silence until the day it stands before the world so fully formed and so undeniably real that no opinion can touch it. Let me tell you about the men I studied. Because their stories are not merely inspiring, they are instructive. Andrew Carnegie built the largest steel empire in the history of the world. He did it not through brute force, but through a strategy of quiet, methodical acquisition. While his competitors were boasting of their plans at dinner tables and in newspaper interviews, Carnegie was quietly buying the raw material, the transportation routes, and the production facilities that would make his competitors obsolete before they even understood what was happening. Carnegie never announced a move before it was complete. Never. Thomas Edison filed more than 1,000 patents in his lifetime, each one the product of years of silent, obsessive, inward-focused work. His laboratory was closed to outsiders. His process was private. His failures were known only to himself and his small team. And when he finally succeeded, the world saw only the result, not the struggle, not the doubt, not the 10,000 experiments that did not work. Edison once said that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. What he did not say, but what I observed with my own eyes, is that all of that perspiration happened in silence. Henry Ford transformed the way human beings live on this earth. He put a machine in the hands of ordinary people that had previously been available only to the wealthy, and he did it by working in near total silence. Ford's enemies called him ignorant. They put him on the witness stand and tried to prove through questions about history and literature that he was an uneducated man unworthy of the empire he had built. Ford famously responded, "I may not know these things myself, but I have the ability to press a button and bring to me within 60 seconds men who do know them." That is the mastermind principle. That is the power of organized silence and strategic action. John D. Rockefeller was perhaps the most disciplined practitioner of silence I ever studied. He spoke rarely. He shared his plans with no one outside his most trusted advisors. He had a face like stone in every negotiation. He revealed nothing. He reacted to nothing. And he built an oil empire so vast that the government of the United States ultimately decided it was too large for any single person to control. These were not quiet men in the sense of being timid or afraid. They were among the most confident, forceful, and ambitious human beings who ever lived. But they had learned what most people never learn, that the most powerful person in any room is not always the one speaking the most. Very often it is the one who is listening, observing, planning, and saying nothing. I want to give you something practical, something you can begin today. I want to give you the 7 disciplines that, when practiced consistently, will transform the quality of your thinking, the depth of your focus, and the speed of your progress toward any goal you have chosen. The first discipline is to write before you speak. Before you share any new idea or plan with another person, write it down fully in private. Give it form on paper. Let it become real to you before you expose it to the world. Writing forces clarity, and clarity is the beginning of power. The second discipline is to select your audience with absolute precision. For every plan you have, there are exactly two categories of people in your life: those who can help you build it and those who cannot. Share your plans only with the first category. The second category will offer you opinions. Opinions do not build anything. The third discipline is to replace talking with doing. Every time you feel the impulse to tell someone about your plans, redirect that energy into action. Open your notebook. Write one more page. Make one more phone call. Take one more step. The energy that most people spend on conversation is exactly the energy they need to build their dreams. The fourth discipline is to practice daily periods of complete mental silence. Set aside 30 minutes each day in which you will not speak, will not read, will not listen to anything external. Sit quietly. Think deeply. Allow your subconscious mind to surface the ideas and solutions it has been generating while you were busy with the noise of daily life. You will be astonished at what rises to the surface when you give it the space to do so. The fifth discipline is to guard your mornings and your evenings. The first hour after waking and the last hour before sleeping are the most powerful hours of your day for programming your subconscious mind. Use them deliberately. Read your definite chief aim. Visualize your goal as already achieved. Fill these hours with the specific thoughts and images you want your subconscious to work on. Do not waste them in idle conversation or in consuming the fears and anxieties of others. The sixth discipline is to develop a gracious response to unsolicited inquiry. People will ask about your plans. They always do. And you must be prepared to respond without being rude and without being dishonest. A simple reply will suffice. Something like, "I am working on something important, and I will share it with you when the time is right." This closes the conversation with warmth, preserves your privacy, and sets an expectation that results will speak for themselves. The seventh discipline is to let results do your speaking. When your work is complete, it will announce itself. You will not need to tell people what you have accomplished. The accomplishment itself will tell them. And a result, unlike a plan, is impervious to doubt. It cannot be dismissed. It cannot be argued with. It stands on its own, requiring no defense and no explanation. Build first. Speak after. This is the law. I began my life with nothing. A one-room cabin, no mother, no money, no advantages of any kind. And I spent 50 years of my life studying the men who began with nothing and built everything. Men who turned raw desire into refined results. Men who transformed the invisible fire of ambition into the visible structures of empire. And I am telling you today, with the full weight of everything I observed and everything I learned, that the single most underestimated discipline in the pursuit of wealth and achievement is this: the discipline of silence. Not the silence of defeat, not the silence of timidity, not the silence of a person who has given up on their dream, but the silence of a person who has decided that their dream is too important to be handed to the world before it is ready. The silence of a person who is doing the quiet, invisible, relentless work that will one day produce results so extraordinary that the world will stand back and wonder how it was done. Whatever the mind of a person can conceive and believe, it can achieve. I have witnessed this truth in the lives of more than 500 men who proved it beyond any reasonable doubt. But the mind can only conceive clearly when it is quiet enough to hear itself, and the mind can only believe completely when it has been protected from the voices that say it cannot be done. So today, I ask you to do one thing. Take the goal that matters most to you, the dream you have carried longest, the vision that burns most persistently in the quiet moments of your life. Write it down. Make it specific. Give it a deadline. Give it a number. Give it a shape. And then close your journal. Tell no one. Go to work in silence, with purpose, with faith, with the absolute certainty that what you are building is already real in the invisible world of thought. and that your only task now is to make it visible to the world of physical reality. I spent 20 years learning the secret of wealth from the greatest men this country has ever produced, and I am sharing that secret with you now. Stay silent, stay focused, build, and let the world wonder. The day will come when the world will look at what you have built and ask, when did you do all of this? How did you do all of this? And you will smile, because you will know the answer. You did it in silence.